Hello, my name is Rick Metzing, and I want to thank you for buying my video. The video you're about to watch covers the basic teardown and rebuild of the automatic transmission. However, this video does not include the removal or installation procedures of the automatic transmission. Now, to some, the automatic transmission is a great mystery, left only for the elite mechanic. Until now. With these videos, and coupled with my 25 years of experience in the field, you can rebuild an automatic transmission. This video is written in 6 sections. The first section is preparation. This section will prepare you for the job ahead, like the special tools you will need, assembly lubes and organization, cleaning chemicals that are needed to properly clean the transmission. Number 2 is the teardown process. In the teardown section, every part is disassembled and named, so you will have a better understanding of each piece and its relationship to the other parts in the transmission. Number 3 is the inspection process. In the inspection process, you will learn to judge the difference between good and bad parts, scored drums, bad pumps, worn out planetary gears, and properly test and inspect the electrical components within the transmission. Number 4 is the cleaning process. Here you will learn how to properly clean the electrical parts, as well as all the hard parts within the transmission. Proper procedures to prepare the transmission case for reassemble. Clean a part with the wrong chemicals, and you may have just trashed a perfectly good part. Number 5 is the rebuilding process. Here you will assemble the subsections, reload them in the transmission case, check the total in-place settings, assemble and install the valve body, torquing the bolts to proper specs. Number 6 is the proper filling procedures and drivability. This section deals with obtaining the correct fluid levels, the use of correct fluid types, after the transmission is installed in the vehicle, shifting of the trans, break-in, and final road test. The automatic transmission is disassembled and reassembled in subsections. Coupled together, they make up the automatic transmission. Before you get started, choose a work area that is clean and well organized. A place where your transmission can live while you work on it. This is not only for your own safety, but will give you room enough to store all the parts and accessories as they come off. The bolts and washers and other related small parts should go into a storage container of some sort, sandwich bags, Tupperware, an organizing bin, it doesn't matter, as long as you can write down on the container the name of the parts and where they came from. An organizing bin from the hardware store works great for this, and most will come with stick-on labels. For your own health and safety, you should always wear some sort of eye protection and protective clothing. Also, you should wear protective gloves to keep your skin from coming in direct contact with cleaning solvents, and especially to protect you from electrical cleaners and carburetor cleaner that are used to clean many of the transmission parts. You'll need plenty of shop towels, and take plenty of pictures, or better yet, videotape what everything looks like before you take it apart. You'll need to use compressed air regulated through a blowgun to help separate and clean some of the parts. We chose an adjustable trigger blowgun with a removable rubber tip. If you use a non-adjustable blowgun, then you will need a regulator of some sort to regulate the compressed air. You'll need a basic tool set, hammers, screwdrivers, socket sets, and a good assortment of pliers. You can choose an air impact to remove the bolts, use a small 3/8 drive. This is standard equipment in the transmission industry. You'll need an assortment of snap ring pliers, To remove the front and rear seals, we chose a healthy screwdriver with a hardened handle, a washer-style stop, so as not to fall apart when receiving light blows to the end of the handle. The conventional seal remover was not used because of its pointy hook design and would gouge the aluminum while pulling the seal. You'll need a good set of dental picks. You'll also need to make 2 pair of guide pins, a 5/16 or metric 8 set, 3 inches long, and a set of 1/4 inch or metric 6, 2 inches long. Build a small taper to the ends of each guide pin. If your transmission has the bolt-on bell housing, then you will require this size Torx bit to remove and install it. Here are the special tools you will need. A spring compressor to compress the return springs, 2 sets of sealing ring installers, a set for the stator shaft rings, and a set for the turbine shaft rings. A pump puller to help remove the pump from the transmission case, a pump alignment tool to align the pump and stator assembly, and a lip seal installation tool to help when installing the pistons back into the drums. You can also use a filler gauge, size anywhere from 12 to 15 thousandths, to perform this same operation. You'll need a bushing driver set if you choose to replace the bushings yourself. It's standard equipment in the industry to have a 3 to 2.5 inch hole cut through your workbench. Some of the parts you will be working on will not set square on the bench. The hole is there to receive shafts and oblong pieces, so the part you're working on lays flat against the workbench. If cutting a big hole in your table is not what you prefer to do, there are other alternatives. A 5-gallon bucket, 2 2x4s will solve this problem. Or better yet, use an old flywheel. Works great for this. Here are some of the items you will need to get before you get started. 80 grit and 320 to 400 grit sandpaper. A package of Scotch-Brite. To help with the cleaning of the transmission, pick up several cans of carburetor cleaner and several cans of spray electrical cleaner. You'll need to pick up a few gallons of either mineral spirits or cleaning solvent. During the reassembly of the transmission, you will need some 80/90 gear oil, a tub of Transgel, ask for the color gold. In place of the Transgel, you can use Vaseline to reassemble the transmission. Both Vaseline and Transgel mixes well with transmission fluid. Never use wheel bearing grease to reassemble the automatic transmission. It does not cohabitate or mix well with transmission fluids. The first thing to do is to remove the rear seal. To do this, use a screwdriver and break the seal away from the extension housing. Be careful not to damage the extension housing. Next, remove the VSS, the vehicle speed sensor. To remove the VSS without damaging the sensor, you'll need to remove the extension housing first. To remove the extension housing, you'll need to remove these 4 bolts. The bolt in front of the VSS may not pull through the extension housing until the VSS is completely removed. Late model 4L60E transmissions will have an extension housing similar to this, a 6-bolt pattern and a late 4-bolt pattern. Both will have the VSS on the opposite side and a lot easier to remove than the early style VSS. Once the extension housing is removed, you'll notice a square cut O-ring either on the extension housing or on the back side of the transmission case. You'll also notice the reluctor ring or exciter ring. There is no reason to remove this unless it's damaged. If it is damaged, you will need an arbor press or a gear puller to remove it from the output shaft. Now let's remove the VSS, the vehicle speed sensor. Remove the holding screw. Insert a screwdriver behind the VSS and simply remove the VSS from the extension housing. Now turn the transmission around and let's remove the 2/4 servo. To remove the servo, first you'll need to remove the snap ring, next, using a pair of pliers, expose the 2/4 servo cover O-ring. Using a pick, pull the O-ring out. Now cut the O-ring and pull on one side. Now go ahead and remove the cover. Next is the 4th apply piston. When removing the servo cover, the 4th apply piston may stay in the back side of the cover. Using a pair of needle nose pliers, remove the 2nd apply piston and inner housing. The inner housing and the 2nd apply piston and servo pin assembly. Don't forget the return spring. Notice the sealing rings on the inner housing and 2 on the 2nd apply piston, 1 on the 4th apply piston, and of course the servo cover O-ring. Now turn the transmission around to the electrical connector. First, you'll need to break the connector away from the transmission case. Squeeze the tabs here to push the connector down through the case. I use an 1 5/16" 12-point socket for this. Now push the connector down. It will drop about 1/4 inch. Next, remove the transmission bottom pan by removing these 16 bolts located here. Go ahead and remove the filter. Next is the removal of the wiring harness located here. Notice the color of the wires on shift solenoid A and B. This is where a good camera will come in handy. Some 4L60Es will have harness hold down straps located here. Next, you'll need to remove the lockup solenoid by removing these 2 bolts located here and here. Be careful here when removing the lockup solenoid. It is a part of the wiring harness and can be damaged very easily. On late model 4L60Es, you will need to remove the PWM TCC solenoid first before you can safely remove the lockup solenoid. The PWM TCC solenoid is short for pulse width module, and TCC is short for torque converter clutch. To remove the solenoid, unclip it from the harness and remove the retaining clip. Then the solenoid just simply pulls from the bore. Now you can remove that lockup solenoid. Once the solenoid bolts are removed, this solenoid will also pull from its bore. To completely remove the harness from the case, you will first need to remove the valve body. Now don't forget to disconnect the force motor located here. Next, remove the pressure manifold switch. To remove the pressure manifold switch, you'll need to remove these 5 bolts. Next, remove the detent lever by removing this bolt. Now it's time to remove the valve body. You'll need to remove 14 bolts. But before we remove the valve body, there are several steps you'll need to know. Underneath the valve body are 7 1/4-inch check balls. Be careful not to lose them. Also, notice the position of the dipstick guard. And third, you'll need to properly remove the manual valve and linkage. Now let's remove those valve body bolts. Now you can remove these bolts in any order. It really doesn't matter. Notice the red and black circles. The red are 10mm headed bolts and the black are 8mm. Be careful here not to damage or drop the valve body. It houses many springs and valves as well as electrical solenoids. It is a very sensitive unit and can damage very easily. For now, let's just set it off to the side. We will get more into the valve body later. Be careful not to lose the manual valve. And don't forget the manual valve link. Next, let's remove that wiring harness. Once the wiring is removed, you can now remove the second accumulator housing. You do this by removing these 3 bolts. Once the accumulator is removed, then you'll need to remove the piston and springs. You do this by pushing air through this hole located here. Be careful here, just a little air will do. When removing the accumulator piston with compressed air, either face the bore away from you or restrain it with your hand. Now turn the housing upside down. What you'll find is the inner spring and the outer spring and the second accumulator piston. Notice on the piston the D-cut sealing ring located here. If you're working on an early model 4L60E, then the piston and spring assembly may be reversed. Next, remove the hold-down plate located here by removing these 3 hold-down screws, and then remove the spacer plate. Now turn the plate over and notice the position of the solenoid screens. here, and here. Underneath your spacer plate, you'll find the 4th accumulator piston and spring and 4th accumulator 1/4 inch check ball. First, using a magnet, remove the check ball, then remove the spring. Next is the guide pin. And last, using a pair of snap ring pliers, remove the piston. Notice the D-ring on the piston. Next, turn the transmission around to the pump area. Now this is the heart of the automatic transmission. Without it, nothing works. To remove the pump, you will need to remove these 7 bolts located here. On late model 4L60E transmissions with a bolt-on bell housing, you will first need to remove the bell housing before you can remove your pump. Notice the O-rings on the pump bolts. Once the pump bolts are removed, you will then need to use a pump puller to pull the pump assembly from the transmission case. Now be sure the tool is installed correctly to ensure a good straight pull from the case. Install the tool just below the splines on the stator shaft. The pump is an assembly of many parts as well as valves and springs.